Hello Year 10 and welcome to your final online feedback session for while we've been doing remote learning. As usual, this is a weekly feedback based on the work that you completed in the previous week, and this feedback focuses on the work that you submitted that focused on both Ozymandias and my last Duchess. So the work that you did between last Friday and, 2 Fridays ago and last Wednesday. Okay, mainly looking at those quiz scores from the quiz that you submitted on the Wednesday. So first things first, we'll celebrate a few things. The class average was 47%. All right, not our best overall. We do like to look for around 80% to show that we really understand a topic. However, I still wanted to praise you for doing well with that. All right. We're this far into remote learning, we're almost back in school, so I'm just really glad that you've all been keeping up with it, so well done. And that was 14 out of 19 of you completing the quiz. And the top scorer got 100%, well done. You'll know who you are, it was just one of you that did it. So well done to that person, I have taken note of that. Okay, so the things that I'm going to revisit within this lesson are focusing on some of the questions that the majority of us didn't do quite so well in, okay? So a few different things to revisit, but it's worth doing here before we move on to more poems. So first things first was this question here. What is a pedestal? And the correct answer here is a platform to put something on to make it higher, okay? You might often hear the phrase that somebody's being put on a pedestal, all right, but a person can be referred to as being put on a pedestal if they are someone that is greatly admired or respected. All right, a pedestal was often used as well to sort of put art on of various different creations that you'd have sort of, around the house or things like that. So it was stuff that you would put in a particular place to be admired. So again, a person can be put on a pedestal if they are someone who is greatly admired or respected. So I can kind of see why a lot of you went for this answer here. A stand you use when people are making a speech to make them seem taller, but no, that's not the correct use of the term. Pedestal is a platform to put something on to make it higher. Looking next at the form of Ozymandias. All right, again, this is another area that I could see we just needed to revisit briefly. So Ozymandias takes the form of a sonnet, and a sonnet is a short lyric poem that consists of 14 lines, typically written in iambic pentameter. We know what that is, all right, unstressed syllable followed by stressed syllable, ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. 5 in the line. Iambic means unstressed, stressed. Penta means 5, and meter that means there's 5 in the meter. And it also usually follows a specific rhyme scheme. It also includes a volta. We know what that is from extract from the prelude. All right, it's that change in tone or argument in a poem. And Ozymandias here, this is a sonnet as it has 14 lines and it has a volta. It features 3 lines from the end. Nothing besides remains. All right, before that we've just had my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. The tone changes at that moment. So it appears a volta just there. However, the rhyme scheme is not regular and does not fit with the sonnet form in this poem, okay? That is something that's important to note. And this reflects the disrupted nature of Ozymandias' power, reinforcing how nature is more powerful than man-made creations. I know we've talked a lot about how sometimes, often if the rhyme scheme is disrupted, that's probably saying something. It probably links to the content of the poem in some way. So again, we've got this form here. A sonnet is normally a really strict form. All right, but what Shelley has done is he's taken the form and he's kind of changed it with that aim of providing commentary on how nature has power over man, or how man-made creations, which things like sonnets are, aren't as powerful. They eventually, wither away. Nature overtakes it, so to speak. Okay, looking at this next one here. Which sentence best summarises Shelley's ideas and attitudes in Ozymandias? I see that a lot of people put make most of power you have whilst alive. Although that kind of links in with what's happening in the poem, obviously we think it's about Ramesses II from ancient Egypt, and how he tried to, create this legacy and build this legacy of himself so that he would remain powerful for always. But he doesn't, obviously, he dies, the empire falls. Nature takes over, the things that symbolise his power, like the statue, have been destroyed. So although, yes, he had power while he was alive and he didn't have power later on, that's not the message of the poem here. The message of the poem is that even the mightiest will fall, because in Ozymandias, Shelley is providing a commentary on how nature is more powerful than man. He is criticising the claims made by the powerful and describing how this man-made power is only ever temporary, okay, in comparison to nature. Even the mightiest will fall. Linking back to what we said about nature beforehand, that humans don't own the earth, in a sense. Nature is the earth. We're just visitors in a way, and it's looking at it like that, okay? Man-made power is temporary, okay? So again, you've got all of these statues and whatnot that Ramesses II would have put up, again, to try and prolong his legacy. But here this traveller finds it broken up in the desert, All right, his power has not been sustained, and nature has come back to sort of claim it and has overtaken him. So it's just having that awareness that even the mightiest will fall. Okay. The next question. In the poem Ozymandias, what part of the statue was missing? A lot of people went for the face, and some more people went, well, and then a good chunk of you went for the torso, which was the correct answer. So let's have a look at this part of the poem to kind of show why the torso is the correct answer. I met a traveller from an antique land who said 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions. Right, so in the poem we see both the legs, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone, and face, all right. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip, all right, it's talking about the mouth there. So we've got the legs and the face, we've got no torso. Okay, that's why that one's the correct answer. We get legs, face, no middle part. And this question here, what 3 facial details of Ozymandias' statue is described in the poem? Okay, so we know that the face is in there because we've just talked about that. So let's have a look at this in a bit more detail. The correct answer here is frown, lip and sneer, which the majority have got correct. Well done. All right, but some other people didn't quite get that one right, which is why I'm revisiting it. So if we focus on the part that discusses the face in detail. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown, yep, frown and wrinkled lip, yep, and sneer of cold command. Frown, lip, sneer, correct answer there. Okay, the sneer would have been when you sneer at somebody, it does normally involve using the mouth to make that face. All right, but again, it's more the expression that is on. Don't forget, this is a statue. All right, it's not going to move. But it's the essentially it's the entire look that this statue's face is giving out. Moving on to My Last Duchess then. So who wrote My Last Duchess? Again, another question where the majority got it right. However, a few didn't, which is why we're revisiting it. It's this chap here. It's Robert Browning. All right. If you remember our lesson that focused on romantics, I did discuss how Robert Browning, he's not technically classified as a full romantic poet because he came slightly later. He was linked more in with Victorian writing. However, some of his poems are written in the romantic theme. Okay, deals with the same kind of topics. And it's the way that it's written, obviously, okay? It kind of coincides with those romantic ideals. So that's why he's part of this romantic collection here. Who is the Duke talking to in My Last Duchess? And the correct answer, the messenger of the Count. Another one where the majority got it correct, but a few didn't, so we're looking at it again. The Duke is talking to the messenger of the Count, describing his last Duchess. They're looking at the picture. Right, there's My Last Duchess on the wall. And this supports the poem's form as being a dramatic monologue, as it just features the Duke talking to someone else, but we never hear back from the other person. Remember that word monologue. Mono means one, and log is word, speech of some description. Okay, so it's one person speaking the entire time. In this instance, we do know who they're talking to, but we never hear back from them. Okay, so it's just maintaining that awareness that we know he's talking to somebody, but so he's not getting any response in return. He's telling the story. What reason did the Duke give as to why he couldn't talk to the Duchess about her behaviour? Correct answer there. She would refuse to apologise. Again, the majority got it right. However, some not so much there. Okay, so let's have a look at the part of the poem that kind of supports this statement. Okay, so I'm going to start from here. Even had you skill in speech, which I have not, to make your will quite clear to such an one, and say, just this or that in you disgusts me. Here you miss or there exceed the mark. And if she let herself be lessoned so, nor plainly set her wit to yours, forsooth, and made excuse, e'en then would be some stooping, and I choose never to stoop. Okay, what it's saying, you know, even if she let herself be lessoned so, even if she let herself understand what you were saying and kind of apologise for what she has done and begin to act in a different way, and the fact that he's saying even if she did do that, he's kind of inferring that she won't. Okay, and yeah, and she's always making excuses, and even if she did kind of go, okay, you know, I was wrong, there would still be some stooping or some holding back from his perspective. Okay, so again, she would refuse to apologise, and I suppose I could agree with that one. She would make excuses for her behaviour, but there is just that awareness that the Duke tried to speak to her about her behaviour. He didn't like it, but he was getting nowhere with it. All right, because within the poem, the Duke comments that even if he had the will to talk to her about her behaviour, she would simply make excuses. Okay, so I will actually accept that question, that answer there as well, because we've said that. The last thing to look at today, what does hubris mean? A key word here, and it means excessive pride or self-confidence. Other versions of the word you could use, you could describe somebody as being hubristic, all right, which means they're acting in a way that connotes excessive pride or self-confidence. But one question we'll often ask is how is so-and-so's hubris portrayed? in particular text. And this is a really key term to understand. It will become especially important when we get to Macbeth. All right, just understanding what that hubris means, or being described as hubristic, means that somebody has excessive pride or self-confidence. All right, so if you're not sure, make sure you note that down if you haven't done so already. But that is all for now from me. Well done on all the hard work you've been completing at home. Don't forget to also complete today's lesson. It gives you the opportunity to catch up on anything before we move on to more poems in class this week. And I will see you tomorrow in school. I'm looking forward to seeing you all as we carry on with our poems. We'll be moving on to London next by William Blake. All right, don't forget to come prepared. Bring all your equipment with you. If you happen to have taken your books home, bring them back, okay? But we are going to carry on with the poetry for now. You might also want to bring in all your poetry notes that you've done so far as well, okay? But otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. But for now, take care, and I'll see you then. Bye.